Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps the channel. All right, so ready for a deep dive into a mystery that's been hidden for millennia?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. It's Doggerland.
Doggerland.
Yeah, Doggerland. Maybe you're asking Dogger what?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so picture this, okay? Thousands of years ago, what we know as the North Sea was dry land. It was a massive, landmass connecting Britain to mainland Europe.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's Doggerland. And today, we're going to use this article. I don't know why they titled it this, but it's called Pasted Text.
Okay.
And we're going to use that to try and piece together what life was like there and how it all, vanished beneath the waves.
It's like it captures the imagination, doesn't it? Like thinking about this place where mammoths roamed and humans, lived and foraged and built communities for over 6,000 years. I mean, that's crazy. It wasn't just like a temporary stopover. This was like home.
Yeah.
And it was just swallowed by the sea, leaving behind these traces that we're just starting to understand.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, I mean, it wasn't just like a little strip of land.
Well, no.
What was Doggerland like, back in the day?
Yeah.
Like in its prime. This article paints a picture of a very different Europe than what we think of today.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine a landscape way more fertile than the surrounding areas, cut through with rivers, tons of forests and wildlife, herds of aurochs, red deer, even, get this, mammoths.
No way.
Yeah. These weren't just passing through. This was their ecosystem. And humans were part of it all. And for a really long time, longer than some civilizations we know about. That's pretty wild, right?
It's mind-blowing. Okay, that's an incredible picture. But okay, what about the people, though?
Yeah.
So the article mentions that, scientists thought they were just simple hunter-gatherers, but new discoveries are kind of changing that view.
Right.
What's the evidence? What are we seeing?
Well, for a long time, yeah, we just had, a few things here and there, like basic stone tools, sometimes a bone.
Okay.
So it looked like maybe nomadic groups just kind of moving around, surviving off what they could hunt and gather.
Okay.
But then things started to change. We started finding fancier tools, like harpoons for fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Really carefully crafted blades, even signs of woodworking. This wasn't just survival stuff anymore. It showed specialized skills and maybe even, a more settled way of life.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the article mentions something even crazier, the possibility of settlements, maybe even buildings and structures.
Right.
What do we know about that?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. So we haven't found full-on villages, but we're finding these really cool hints, post holes and hearths, and even clusters of artifacts that look like, hey, maybe people were living here in one place, for a while.
Oh, wow.
It could even mean that agriculture was starting in Doggerland, which, that would be a huge deal. That changes everything about how we think about these people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're starting to see a picture of a much more complex society, right? Mm-hmm. than we initially thought.
Way more complex. Yeah.
And the article makes this link between this and the idea of Doggerland as a migration corridor.
Right.
It's making me think could these people have been more advanced than other groups in Europe at that time?
It's a really interesting idea, right?
Yeah, totally.
We got to be careful about, throwing around words like advanced. But when we compare what we're finding in Doggerland to what was going on in other parts of Europe at the same time, we do see these hints that maybe the society was at the cutting edge, for their time. And if they were settled, and maybe even farming, who knows, right? Mm-hmm. That opens up all these possibilities, Trade networks, sharing knowledge, cultural exchange, spreading out from this central hub. Yeah. That's a pretty powerful idea.
It really is. It challenges that traditional story of how ideas and technologies spread across Europe, right?
Just as it does.
But then we come to this this big question.
Yeah.
What happened?
Right.
How did this seemingly thriving land just disappear?
Well, there are two main theories, and they're both connected to big changes in the climate. The first one, and maybe the most obvious, is the rising sea levels. As the last ice age ended. Imagine that, right? Like over centuries, you're watching the coastline getting closer and closer. Your hunting grounds are shrinking. Your home is slowly being taken over by the sea. I mean, it must have been this constant struggle to adapt, to survive, like a slow motion disaster.
Like still a disaster, right?
A slow motion disaster. But the article also talks about a much more like a dramatic event.
Yeah.
The Strega slide.
Ah, yes.
What is that?
Now, this is where things get really interesting. So picture this, okay? A massive underwater landslide off the coast of Norway.
Whoa!
Triggers a tsunami with waves over 40 feet high, just racing across the North Sea.
That's insane.
I know, right?
Okay.
And that event, the Strega slide, would be absolutely devastating to the Doggerland coastline.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about an area that was already dealing with rising sea levels, and then boom, this catastrophic event hits.
So not just like the water's rising, but a literal wall of water just slamming into the coast.
Exactly.
It's hard to imagine.
I know.
The scale of that. It makes you wonder, though, could this be more than just like a geological phenomenon? Like, could this be the source of those ancient flood myths? The ones that are passed down through generations and seem to be in so many cultures?
Yeah.
No, that's a really, really good question.
Right.
The idea that this cataclysmic event just seared itself into the memory of, the people who survived and then echoed down through generations as like a warning, a tale. It's a pretty compelling idea, right?
Yeah, totally.
And it kind of leads us to the next chapter in the Doggerland story. It's rediscovery.
Yeah.
So for centuries, it was forgotten, a lost world, under the waves. But then something really cool happened.
All right, let's hold that thought for just a second. We'll be right back.
It's kind of crazy how Doggerland was basically found by accident. Like, it's almost like some random time traveler just kind of stumbled upon it,
Okay, hold on. Random time travel. You got to tell me more about this.
Yeah.
How was Doggerland rediscovered?
Okay, so imagine this. It's the late 1800s, and fishermen are out there, in the North Sea. They're trawling, pulling up their nets.
Okay.
And they're finding all the usual stuff, but then they start finding something weird, like strange bones, ancient tools, things that obviously, didn't belong on the seafloor. At first, they were just like curiosities, like weird stuff from the deep.
Right.
But as they kept finding more and more of these things, people started realizing, like, wait a minute, something big is down there. Something's hidden beneath those waves.
Wow. So it wasn't some like fancy scientific expedition. It was just these everyday fishermen who like stumbled on their first clue.
It's like something out of a movie, right?
Totally.
And their curiosity, it sparked those first investigations. Scientists started paying attention, and with new technologies, especially sonar, we could actually start to see the seabed like in detail. What they found was insane. Submerged riverbeds, hills, valleys, like a whole landscape just preserved under the water. Doggerland wasn't just some myth anymore or just a bunch of weird artifacts.
Yeah.
It was mappable.
It really is like a giant puzzle, and every time we find something, it's like another piece.
Exactly. And the picture just keeps getting more and more amazing.
Yeah.
As technology gets better, we've gone way beyond just basic sonar. Now we use stuff like sub-bottom profiling. It's like it lets us see beneath the seabed,
Wow.
It reveals these layers of sediment. And those layers hold clues about Doggerland's environment, the plants and animals, even the climate at different times.
That's so cool. The article, it mentions these sediment cores like they're time capsules.
Yeah.
Can you break those down for us? Like, what kind of information are we getting from them?
Okay, so picture this. A long tube of sediment, pulled up from the seafloor.
Got it.
Inside that tube, you have these layers, right? Layers of sand, silt, organic stuff, and each layer represents a different point in time. By looking at those layers, what they're made of, the pollen trapped inside, even tiny fossils, scientists can reconstruct what the environment was like at that specific moment.
So it's not just like one picture, one moment frozen in time.
Yeah.
We're actually seeing how things changed over thousands of years.
Exactly.
That's insane. But what about the people? Can those sediment cores tell us anything about them?
Oh, yeah, totally. We're finding signs of deforestation, changes in pollen types that could mean they were farming, even traces of charcoal, which could mean they were using fire to manage the landscape. Yeah. These little clues hidden in the sediment, they give us these glimpses into how humans were actually shaping their world, maybe even contributing to its, eventual end.
Wow, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have this incredible picture emerging, the society that's more advanced than we thought, impacting their environment. But ultimately, they're facing this changing world in this huge event.
Yeah.
It's a story that's just, it's both fascinating and tragic,
Yeah.
But what about those flood myths? Is there any real proof to connect them to the Storegga slide?
Yeah.
Or is that just a good story?
It's a question that, a lot of people debate.
Yeah.
We can't say for sure that the Storegga slide is like the one and only inspiration for all those flood myths out there. But the timing is interesting. We know the slide happened around 6200 BC. And that's right around the time that a lot of those flood myths pop up, not just in Europe, but in other places too.
So even if we can't draw a direct line, like a straight line,
right,
it's hard to ignore the possibility, right?
Yeah.
That this real cataclysm shaped those stories.
Yeah.
It speaks to how powerful these events are,
Absolutely.
How they can be burned into human memory, into culture, even across thousands of years.
It really is amazing. And it leads us to, I think, one of the coolest things about Doggerland, this possibility that it holds secrets. Not just about our past, but about ourselves.
Whoa. Okay, now you've got me hooked. What kind of secrets are we talking about here? All right, so we're back, and we were talking about how Doggerland might have these secrets, not just about history, but about us.
Yeah, it's like it gives us this glimpse into these deeper things about being human, our connection to the environment, how we bounce back from tough times, and the power of our stories.
Okay, I'm listening. Let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned the environment. How does Doggerland tell us about that?
So think about this, right? This was a society that thrived for a really, really long time. It seemed like they were in balance with their surroundings.
Yeah.
They hunted, fished, maybe even farmed, all within this incredible ecosystem. But then the environment changed. The sea levels rose. The landscape was different. They had to adapt.
Right.
And it's a story that really matters today, as we deal with our own environmental problems.
It's like a reminder that we're not separate from nature.
Right, exactly.
We're part of it. And when it changes, we got to change too.
Exactly. And Doggerland also shows us how tough humans are. I mean, these people faced crazy challenges, a world that was literally shrinking around them, a massive tsunami, and they still kept going. They adapted, they came up with new ideas, they found ways to survive. It's really amazing. It shows what we can do, our ability to deal with really, really tough stuff, even when it seems impossible.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring. And then there's those flood myths. You said those stories might have deeper meanings. What did you mean?
Well, think about how many cultures have flood myths, right? All over the world.
Yeah, that's true.
They talk about this, this deep fear we have, this anxiety about how powerful nature is, and how fragile we are. And maybe when we tell these stories over and over again, we're not just remembering something that happened, but we're also admitting something real about who we are.
Like those myths are a warning.
Yeah.
To respect nature, to be careful with our world.
Exactly. And Doggerland, it makes that message really, really clear. It shows us what can happen when we don't pay attention, when we don't adapt to a changing world. It's a story that makes us think differently about how we treat the environment and about our own place in the whole story of humanity.
So it's not just about digging up artifacts or mapping the seafloor. It's about learning deeper truths about ourselves, about where we came from, and maybe even where we're going. That's a pretty powerful legacy for a lost world.
It really is. And the story of Doggerland, it's not over. Every new discovery adds more to the picture.
Yeah.
And with every new piece, there are new questions. It's a story that'll keep going, for a long, long time.
I like that. And maybe as we learn more about Doggerland, we'll uncover more than just the secrets of this lost civilization. Maybe we'll learn something about ourselves, our place in the world, and what we need to do to protect it. It's a journey worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Exploring Doggerland, it's more than just archaeology, It's a journey, a search for knowledge, and a reminder that we're all connected. The past, the present, the future, it's all tied together.
Well said. And on that note, We've reached the end of our deep dive into Doggerland. We hope you've enjoyed this little trip through time, that it's sparked your own curiosity about the mysteries of the past.
If you're into lost civilizations, ancient mysteries, and the incredible power of nature, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We've got more deep dives coming up into some of the most captivating stories from history and beyond.
Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps the channel. Thanks for listening.